Greetings all. Another video on the Vijñāna-bhairava-tantra. We have now arrived at verse 46. We are still very much in the spaciousness/emptiness section of the text. This verse, I think, is very profound. Let's see what riches it holds for us. I will paste it into the chat window so you can follow along. Okay, there's the verse. You can sing it with me if you like. Tanu deshe shunyataiva ksanamatram vibhavayet nirvikalpan nirvikalpo nirvikalpa swarupa bhāk. Which means, in any given moment, one may consider or contemplate any part of the body as if it were pure emptiness, without thinking about it. One who becomes free of dichotomizing beliefs in this way directly senses and participates in their unconstructed essence nature. So this verse is quite beautiful from a Sanskrit point of view. It's very rich because of the connotations of the words. So it's worthwhile to go through it and break it down word by word. So, tanu deshe, in any part of the body, in any region of the body. Shunyataiva, emptiness itself, or pure emptiness. Ksanamatram, for just a moment. Vibhavayet, one may contemplate or one may consider. And then the sentence finishes with the first word of the second half of the verse, nirvikalpam, without thinking about it. They're used adverbially. One may do a kind of contemplation that doesn't involve thought. So to put all those words together, utilizing the proper Sanskrit syntax, we get, in any given moment, you may contemplate any part of your body as if it were pure emptiness, or as pure emptiness. It's more accurate, without thinking about it. So the instruction is to simply, in any place, any time, in the middle of any activity, bring attention to any body part or any region of the body and consider that part or region of the body as shunyata, as pure emptiness. So this practice can be done anywhere, anytime. That's why I chose to do the video here in this hammock, to emphasize that for some of these practices, one need not be in meditation posture on a zafu with, elongated spine and composed body. One could be anywhere, anytime, not just in a hammock, obviously, but even in the middle of one's work day, in waiting at a bus stop. Anywhere, anytime, that's the point. Ksanamatram, in any given moment. You can also translate ksanamatram as for just a moment, but I'm choosing to translate it in any given moment. That this is a micro meditation, which is a phrase that I might have coined, or maybe somebody else did, I can't remember now. But we have many of these in the Vijñāna-bhairava-tantra, these micro meditations that you can do anywhere, anytime for just a few minutes. And then that might lead into a longer meditation, sure. But it's really important that not all these tantric yoga techniques are the sort of techniques that require a specific posture and a specific environment. Many of them don't. So let's contrast this with verse 43. I asked in the group, what differences do you see between these two verses? Because in verse 43, the instruction was simply to become aware of spaciousness or space in all directions within one's own body. So there we have a different instruction in the sense that one is to be aware simultaneously of all the regions of one's own body as space. And here you're invited to focus on a specific body part. And the other difference, though, is in the usage of these two different words, which after much contemplation I decided are meant to be construed differently. Some scholars previously, and I think including Jaidev Singh and Swami Lakshmanju, understood these terms akasha, space, and shunyata, emptiness, as equivalent. And I think it's important that the text was composed in the middle of the 9th century when Mahayana Buddhism was very much flourishing. And people were very aware of this use of the word shunyata to mean emptiness in a Buddhist sense. I don't think the author of the VBT is using it in a Buddhist sense, but it's impossible that he wouldn't have been aware of the Buddhist usage, which was, again, flourishing at that time. So I think it is correct to distinguish or to see a subtle distinction between these two terms, space and emptiness, in the VBT. So here we have emptiness, and I don't think we need to understand it sort of ontologically as empty of any essence, nature, any swabhava, or as connoting interdependent origination, pratitya samutpada, as it does in Buddhism. But those ideas are there in the background, but we're instructed in this verse to do the contemplation nirvikalpam, in a thought-free manner. So I think the author is actually signaling to us. I don't mean, he's saying, or she's saying, that you should think about the essence-lessness of your body parts. That's not what I'm saying. This is actually a Shambhava Upaya practice. So all Shambhava Upaya practices, by the way, are nirvikalpa, meaning to say they don't utilize thought constructs. They invite a direct perception. So therefore, we can be sure that shunyata is not meant ontologically here, but it is meant in the sense of emptiness or voidness. So part of what's meant here is that when you contemplate any body part, you should see that it is in reality void of all your conceptions of it, empty of all your conceptions of it. And we do have conceptions of our body parts. We do have ideas about them and judgments about them. And here we're invited to consider the body part as empty of all that. And so what is left when you consider a body part empty of all your ideas about it? It's just a sensation, right? If I place my awareness, right now I can see my right foot, but I don't need to see it. I can just place my awareness in my right foot. And if I have an experience of it that is nirvikalpa, what is that? It's an experience of simple sensation, simple raw sensation. So that sensation, in my experience, arises within spaciousness, openness. So I do see a connection, even though I'm saying these terms are distinct, space and emptiness. I do see a connection in the text because we do have this teaching here in this text and elsewhere in Shaiva Tantra that the space of pure consciousness within which all phenomena arise is Shiva. Shiva is that space of consciousness within which all phenomena arise. So I think just from an experiential point of view, both things are going on in this verse. I should contemplate the body part as free of and empty of all my ideas about it. And I should also contemplate it as direct raw sensation. That's a Shambhava Upaya practice. And again, that upaya is signaled by the repeated use of the word nirvikalpa. So I experience it as sensation, but that sensation itself is permeated by silent presence, is permeated by spaciousness. I use those terms interchangeably. So that's the practice, and we'll come back to the practice, but let's look at this kind of last part of the verse. So it's interesting, in this verse, we actually get the word nirvikalpa 3 times, and I've translated it differently each time, which I think is warranted. So then the verse says, nirvikalpo, nirvikalpa swarupa bhāk, one who is free of vikalpas, of dichotomizing beliefs and thought constructs, mental images. You know, vikalpa is a very rich term that's hard to translate, but one who's free of differentiating awareness, dichotomizing beliefs, thought constructs, and mental images. Those are 4 translations of vikalpa. One who's free of all that. Nirvikalpa swarupa bhāk, experiences, directly senses, and participates in their essence nature, their nirvikalpa swarupa, their unconstructed essence nature. So here we have another rich point of contemplation, that the verse uses the word bhāk at the end, and this word bhāk is cognate with and directly related to the word bhakti in Sanskrit, which comes from this root, bhāk, which means to participate in. It means to be loyally attentive to. It comes to mean devoted to also. But the fundamental sense is participating in. Bhāk means to participate in, to share in. So here, to participate in your nirvikalpa swarupa, your unconstructed essence nature, your essence nature which is free of and not based on any mental constructs, right? So, as one of my teachers likes to say, reality is what doesn't go away even when you stop believing in it. So, even though the Tantric tradition heavily utilizes Shuddha Vikalpas, pure mental constructs, aka spiritual teachings and visualizations and deity yoga and so on, the tradition heavily utilizes these purified mental constructs in order to undermine and dissolve the mental constructs we already have that are misaligned with the nature of reality. Yet ultimately the tradition is all about arriving at the same place that other non-dual traditions want to arrive at, the place we actually never left, which is a nirvikalpa state, that is to say, direct experience of reality unmediated by conditioning and thought constructs. So it's fine to have conditioning, it's fine to have thought constructs. The goal here is not to get rid of them, but to have a direct experience of reality that is unmediated by them. So in this process, some thought constructs dissolve for sure, but there's no way to dissolve all of them. We can't even get close to that. And that's not a problem, because you can have a direct experience of reality unmediated by vikalpas, even though they're still present. Just like you can have a pair of rose-tinted spectacles or smoky gray spectacles or glasses, but you could also then take them off, and even though you still have them, you're not looking through them. Okay, so hopefully that the usage of that metaphor is clear. In the chat window, Kurt Kruger asks a question that I don't understand. Maybe you can explain it, Kurt, so I can answer it. Okay, so hopefully the verse is now clear, word by word. It's again a very rich, beautiful verse. So the goal here is stated by that final compound, 3-word compound, nirvikalpa swarupa bhāk, participating in, and which also means directly sensing, and also means being devotedly attentive to your essence nature, your nirvikalpa swarupa, your unconstructed essence nature. Okay, that's the purpose of the practice, and that's indeed the purpose of all the practices in the Vijñāna-bhairava-tantra, right? Because even though we utilize Anava Upaya and Shakta Upaya, and these terms will be familiar to you if you've done your homework, these upayas ultimately terminate in Shambhava Upaya. So that's why any of the upayas work. They naturally lead you to the same place. It's just a matter of how many steps there are. Okay? Great. So let's chant the verse one more time and then simply do the practice. So you can chant along with me if you like, or just listen. Whatever is more powerful for you, actually. Tanu deshe shunyataiva ksanamatram vibhavayet nirvikalpa nirvikalpo nirvikalpa swarupa bhāk. In any given moment, one may contemplate any part of the body as pure emptiness without thinking about it. One who becomes free of vikalpas, dichotomizing beliefs, in this way directly senses and participates in their unconstructed essence nature. So now take a moment and simply do the practice without thinking about it. Let your awareness land on any part of the body and consider it as empty. If for just a moment you free yourself from all ideas about your body and the parts of your body, what do you directly sense before you have a thought about it? Simply notice your direct experience. And that's all there is to it. And this is a micro meditation, partially because it has to be. The mind comes in with a thought after just a few seconds, doesn't it? Maybe for you it's a split second, maybe it's as long as 10 seconds. But the mind comes in with some thought. Right? So instead of trying to prolong this practice, I invite you to simply do it 10 or 20 times a day. Let your awareness land on a body part, consider it as pure emptiness, and see what happens. And 10 seconds later, or 1 second later, there's a thought. Fine, move on. Let your awareness land on a different body part and do it again right then. Or you could move on to some other activity. Do the practice again later. as many of you know, I argue on the basis of direct experience, not only of myself, but of many people, that many micro meditations a day can be much more powerful than one long meditation once a day. So give that a try. Thank you. I'd like to thank especially all the patrons on Patreon for continuing to support me in this work, this research, this translation. Without their support, there couldn't be these free videos and free video courses. This VBT course will take another 1.5 years to complete. We are about 29% of the way through the text. And I'm translating, as you know, not only the Vijñāna-bhairava-tantra together with portions of its commentaries, but I'm also translating the Tantra Sara of Abhinavagupta and the portions of the Tantra Loka of Abhinavagupta, as well as working on some other things. And so these translations will be published next year, 2020. That's the goal, by the end of next year. And this wouldn't be possible without the support of the patrons on Patreon that help to guarantee a steady income for someone who's self-employed, a freelance scholar with no guaranteed income. It's kind of a miraculous thing to experience something like that for the first time in one's life, in my life, certainly. So thank you all for your support, and many of you support through sending love and blessings and good wishes, and your best wishes for the completion of these projects for the benefit of all beings. And that support really does matter. That if you can, I don't know if prayer is the right word, but if you can help intend the completion of these translation and projects for the benefit of all beings, then that's wonderful. And sending loving blessings, not only to this work that I'm doing, but to all those who are participating in this community, all those who are doing these practices. Let's strengthen this global community day by day with these intentions of love and compassion and openness and understanding, because we really have something pretty unique here. I'm not aware of any Tantra community that's as harmonious as the one we're building. So please do continue to engage with virtuous conduct and your best intentions and your open hearts and minds. And let's continue and see what happens in the manifestation of this incredible community. Om.